What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fans Sports Show. And today, a game that we all felt was going to happen. Baltimore dominates the Washington football team, or what I call the Ragin Tide. They beat them 31-17 in a game that didn't quite really seem like a blowout. It looked like, Washington was doing everything they could to stay in the game and everything, but they did end up losing 31-17. The score looks far more worse than what the actual game was. So with that, it's something that I can't really get mad about. But in my segment of the good, the bad, and the ugly, we're going to run down the good, the things that Washington did that was good, the things that Washington did that was bad, and the things that Washington did that was ugly. So I'm going to kick it off with the good. Starting off with the good, Antonio Gibson's breakout game. The guy was phenomenal. He had 100 and something all-purpose yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. He had a great game today, especially on one series where he had about 52 yards of the 75 yards within that drive. So Antonio Gibson had a phenomenal game today. I was one of the people who kind of doubted, but I was just like, I felt he shouldn't have been drafted as high. But to me, I feel that even though he shouldn't have been drafted that high, he's living up to top billing. So I have to give respect where respect is due. The guy played a phenomenal game. And I have to really, really admit, I'm actually very impressed with how great he's playing, how good he's playing, and how good he probably will be in the future. Only few things that I got is that he still needs to learn to put that football in his outside arm. He will mess around and get stripped if he keep running with that ball on the inside like he does. And at the same time, I still feel he needs to watch tape on Marshall Faulk, because I think that this offense could possibly be something that could be very magical if they find a way to sit up there and get him into a mode of understanding that he's an all-purpose back versus just singularly a running back. So, again, great game by Antonio Gibson. That was one of the goods. The next good, Scott Turner's play calling. Scott Turner called an amazing game today. And I told y'all, even in my game plan show, I'll put a link in the description below. But I said in there that, they were going to have to throw a whole lot in this game. Even though Dwayne Haskins had a very poor showing against Cleveland, Scott Turner understood that he couldn't sit up there and not rely on Dwayne. And clearly he did. They sat up there, they threw the ball a whole lot today. So Scott Turner's play calling, I have to admit, was very excellent, very on par. Could have probably found ways to actually win this game, but, at the same time, Baltimore is Baltimore. So can't sit up there and knock the fact that we did face a really good team and we kind of stood up to them. So can't be too mad about that. So, like I said, Scott Turner's play calling, another good. Another good. Terry McLaurin, again, I think he had 10 receptions, 118 yards. The guy just keeps on producing. I heard somebody say that on another team, he's a number 2 wide receiver. I don't care what he would be on another team. On our team, he's number 1. And with that being said, all he does is keep showing every day why, even though we took him in the 3rd round, that's another thing. 2 of our 3rd round picks have showed up in this game this week. So that tells you something that, when it comes down to it, these guys are performers. And like I said again, Terry McLaurin, there's just never enough you can say about a guy like him. He's a great wide receiver, very dominant, comes in, plays. I understand that they want to get the ball to him more, but 10 catches, that's pretty impressive. And I think this is the first time I've seen him actually drop a ball. But other than that, guy's phenomenal. Again, another good. My last good, and a lot of you may disagree with me because you guys are just who you are. Dwayne Haskins was a good today. I mean, in comparison to what happened to him last week and the fact that they threw a lot today, you have to understand Dwayne Haskins actually played a very good game. So y'all have to give it an understanding that Dwayne Haskins could have been even way worse today due to what happened last week. But the fact that he sat up there, he was 34 for 45 for 314 yards, and he had a rushing touchdown. Again, the guy played phenomenally. So you have to give him the credit that where the credit is due. He did an amazing job. You know, I understand that when you really think about it, because a lot of you are going to sit up there and say he overthrew people. In reality, he only really missed 2 passes, and both of them were in the flat. It was the one to Peyton Barber where he was trying to throw over the defensive guy and kind of overthrew him in the process. And I think it was the little screenplay to Antonio Gibson where he overthrew him. But other than that, Dwayne Haskins really didn't overthrow anybody. He didn't throw any interceptions. He was worried about the interceptions and stuff because the pass to Isaac Wright could have been a better pass that could have possibly got him into the end zone, or he could have seen if there was some way to attack the end zone. But the fact that he didn't is okay. You know, that's one of those things that these type of situations just happen. But he did play a good game, and you have to give him credit for that. He did not sit up there and blow the game. He didn't blow the game. He didn't blow the lead. He didn't do any of that. But he did play a very good game. So with that, he will go into the good category. Now, my bad. My bad is how the defense couldn't come up with a legitimate stop. It was kind of really weird because, I mean, the Ragin Tide was in the game. They were definitely in the game. The defense would stand up to some parts, but they would let certain things just completely blow up in front of them, and they weren't stopping a lot of stuff. They weren't getting run on a lot, but they were giving up a couple of chunk yardage and things like that. So the fact that the defense didn't really hunker down kind of worries me a little bit. The defensive line didn't play to its stellar talent, you know, because, again, I understand Chase Young is out. I understand Matt Ioannidis is out. But you still have some stout guys on that defensive line that something should have came out of this. And the fact that, you know, the defensive secondary, they didn't look that well either. But they tried. They definitely tried. That was it. Now, Jack Del Rio didn't call a bad game plan, and I'll give him that credit. He didn't call a bad game plan, but he also did a fairly good job trying his best to step in for Ron Rivera and oversee the game a little bit. I do feel that Ron Rivera kind of did that little timeout towards the end of the game as here y'all go. Now what y'all got to complain about, which is actually pretty funny that he's that he could be sarcastic within the game. So I thought that was pretty funny. But again, like I said, the defense not being able to stop things, not Jack Del Rio's play calling, is what I think was a big problem. Like I said, but I mean, I do feel that Jack Del Rio was calling certain things that made that basically presented issues. But again, that's up to him. You know, I didn't understand some of the miscues and stuff that was going on. But again, like I said, I'm not going to fault Jack Del Rio's play calling for that. That wasn't his fault. It was more the players that didn't produce that came about. And my ugly. Now, if any of y'all really pay attention to the details in the game, y'all will probably agree with me about my ugly. My ugly is Troy Apke. I mean, Troy Apke, on 3 of Baltimore's 4 touchdowns, was at fault for all 3 of them. The first one was the touchdown to Mark Andrews. The first touchdown to Mark Andrews. Troy Apke was not where he was supposed to be. Kevin Pierre-Louis tried to make up for Troy Apke not being there, and he ends up in a tail where he's trying to run the play down from behind. And that put Kevin Pierre-Louis in such a bad position that it looked like he blew the coverage, when in fact it was Troy Apke that blew the coverage, because Troy Apke, for some reason, ran the opposite way as the tight end was running to the corner, the front of the end zone in the corner. So, yeah, Troy Apke that was just a disastrous thing. On the second touchdown, Troy Apke, now, offensive lineman, the second touchdown was Lamar Jackson's run. So, Troy Apke runs dead into the blocker. Like, the blocker was looking for somebody to block. Troy Apke helped him by running directly into him. Like, directly into the blocker. After that happened, a hole opened wide up for Lamar Jackson to basically run through, ran for the touchdown. I just don't understand. And the last thing was on Mark Andrews' second touchdown of the game, where again, Troy Apke was supposed to be over top of Mark Andrews. It's not like they had a whole bunch of yardage to go. It was a short field, and Troy Apke again set up there, blew his coverage, and missed the fact that Mark Andrews was running right past him. Troy Apke is a disaster. The guy just does not have the coverage skills you need in a free safety. He's also a very poor tackler. There was on several times where he could have stopped the run, and instead of getting in there and getting the tackle, he sat up there and stood up and just like was standing there and waiting. So Troy Apke was the ugly in this game, and I know that most people have to go back and relook at the game and everything like that. Troy Apke was bad. Like I said, on 3 of 4 of Baltimore touchdowns, he was the cause of those touchdowns. And like I said, it's just the saddest thing to see that we don't have a guy who can sit up there and basically take over that. Now, there were a few things that I do feel that Jack Del Rio and some other staff members are looking at my videos, because, again, they did follow some of my game plan. There were some defensive snaps where I saw Jimmy Moreland and Cameron Curl in the game at the same time. Normally, they're not in the game at the same time. And they were in the game at the same time, even though they didn't have a massive amount of wide receivers in there. And they had Jimmy Moreland spying Lamar Jackson, if y'all paid attention to it. But, again, like I said, you know, that Troy Apke is definitely my ugly. I sat up here and said that in this game, Dwayne Haskins was going to throw 3 interceptions. I didn't know he was going to do it in the game last week. So this was kind of his recovery game. But I do feel that this next game with St. Louis, we will beat St. Louis. The Giants are actually, the Rams are actually struggling against the Giants today. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I honestly do feel that we're going to beat the Rams. Not only that, I think that Dwayne Haskins will have his best game of the season against these Rams. So, like I said, again, yeah, it was a loss that we all felt was going to happen. It was a loss that we all felt could come about. The fact that it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be is actually good. So with that being said, I'm glad that they stuck in there. I'm glad that there was a game plan that worked. We're now on to St. Louis, where I really do feel we'll get this win. And I think that we're going to come out on top. With that being said, this has been your man, John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.